They say fishing is relaxing, and it can be, if you catch anything. I had been at the creek since sunrise, and now, with the sun setting, all I had caught was, unbelievably, a small leather shoe. All day long, I watched an old man fishing from the opposite bank. He was like clockwork, reeling in fish after fish, then releasing them back into the water without even weighing them. What I wouldn't have given to catch at least one. As the sun disappeared, the old man packed up his tackle and walked across the bridge to my side. "Had any luck?" he asked, seemingly trying to wind me up. I sighed heavily. "No, just this stupid shoe." His eyes lit up when he saw it. "Can I take a look?" he asked. "Sure, you can have it if you want," I replied, puzzled. He sat down next to me and picked up the small piece of footwear. "You found it," he said, his voice breaking. He turned it over in his hand and began to cry. "Are you okay?" "Very okay," he replied, touching the shoe to his face. Minutes passed in silence, and I was at a loss for words. He leaned over, opened his tackle box, and pulled out some tattered fabric. "This was his t-shirt," he said, showing me a faded green top. "His shorts," he added, voice breaking again. "And his shoe." He placed the other shoe next to the one I found. The leather was cracked and hardened from years of neglect. I never thought I'd see it again. "Thank you," he said, hugging me tightly. I patted his back, unsure what to say. He put the clothes back in his tackle box and stood up. "What happened?" I asked. "It was a long time ago. We used to fish here often, and one day," he trailed off, looking away. "I'm sure you didn't come here to see an old man cry," he said, pushing himself to his feet. "Was he your son?" "No, but we had fun together. It's nice to know he'll be here with me now when I fish." "Really appreciate it. Did they ever look for him? Drag the river?" asked, wincing as soon as the words left my mouth. The man sniffed and picked up his tackle box. He began to walk away. "Did they know he was here?" Blurted out without thinking. Just then, my line tugged and my heart raced. "Happens when you least expect it, doesn't it?" the man said, walking away. I grappled with the fish, pulling back on the rod, feeling the tension in my grip. Slowly but surely, the fish tired, worried it had got away. I wound in the line and saw the fish on the surface, surrendered to me. When I landed it, I swiftly removed the hook, pleased to see the bait was missing, hoping the fish had a little reward for the struggle. It was a decent size, and I was happy to let it go free. Threw my remaining bait into the water and began packing up. As I reeled in the remaining line, it went taut. Pulled and realized it was stuck on something. Mentally scolding myself, I saw the reeds on the bank. I heaved on the line, stretching it to breaking point. I stood up and walked along the bank, letting the line run out. Walked onto the bridge and began to wind in. With one last pull, it freed. As I reeled in, I felt something on the hook. It didn't struggle or fight, just dragged. In the last few feet, I saw something beige rise through the murky water. As it emerged, I panicked. A small skull. I wanted to cut the line and let it sink, but the macabre urge overtook me. I lifted the rod, letting the bone rest on the bridge. I looked around for the old man, but he was nowhere to be seen. I unhooked the line from the jawless skull and hid it under my jacket. Panicked, I disassembled my rod and put it away. I grabbed my other possessions and ran to the car. It was dark when I reached the car park. Struggling to open the boot while holding the skull under my jacket, I finally got my gear in and slammed it shut. "How big was the fish?" a voice said from behind. I spun around. Yeah, good," I stammered as the old man looked me up and down. "How many pounds?" I don't know. I didn't weigh it. Really? You were trying all day. You finally land a fish and you didn't weigh it. He eyed my jacket. I was so happy to land it. I didn't even think. I chuckled nervously. Did you catch anything else? He asked, his smile revealing crooked teeth. No, I said, moving my hand to hide the skull. Are you sure? I have to get home. My wife's expecting me. He clamped a hand on my shoulder. Thanks again for the shoe. It really means a lot to me. I forced a smile. No problem. I got in the car and saw the man hobble to his rusted Land Rover. I let out a big sigh and drove home. I parked in front of the garage and went inside. You were gone long, my wife said. Your food is in the fridge. Thank you, I said. Are you okay? You sound on edge. Yeah, I think. Do you want me to heat up your food? No, I'll do it, I said, leaving her in the living room. Watching TV, I placed the skull on the sideboard and turned on the light. It was so small. You could see the adult teeth above the milk teeth, waiting like little soldiers for their time to be on duty. I placed my food in the microwave. The security light out front lit up. The rusted Land Rover had stopped outside. The blinds were open. I glanced at the skull and realized it was visible from outside. Quickly closed the blinds. Took out my phone and dialed the police. Nice woman said they'd send someone immediately. There was a knock at the door. Before I could tell my wife not to answer, the old man had entered the house. I'm a friend of your husband's, he said. We go fishing all the time. Oh, good, she said. I'll leave you two be. The old man smiled at me as she left the hallway for the living room. I think you have something of mine, he said, striding past me into the kitchen. He picked up the skull and rubbed it to his face, letting out an excited purr. He placed it under his jacket and approached me. You didn't tell anyone you found it, did you? He asked with a plastic smile. I shook my head in fear. Good. He left the house. The police arrived minutes later. Told them what happened. They asked if I still had the shoe and the skull. Told them no. They stared at me incredulously. I asked them to search the river. They said they needed something concrete before they could investigate. I was shocked, but I guess this is the result of budget cuts. I've told a friend who's a scuba diving instructor, and he's up for it. We'll bide our time and find the remaining bones.